Love and abundance all. I am Nicole. Welcome to Meetings on the Mat. I am here to activate you on a soul level by providing new perspectives of individuals through their unique healing journey. We will discover how their life experiences have led them to holistic health and non-conventional healing modalities. So I invite you to keep an open heart, an open mind, relax your body, and consider this a soul session. Peace, y'all. Welcome back. I am Nicole, host, creator here for Meetings on the Mat. I am sitting with guest today, Rodney, aka Brother Ra. How you doing today, brother?
Wholeness and love, man. I'm doing very well. Thank you for having me here this evening, or depending on what time you're listening.
Of course, I'm like grateful, honored, everything above and below to have you here with us in this moment. So first and foremost, myself and the audience would like to know what brought you to the mat.
Oh man, that's a beautiful question. I really truly believe, man, it's like a seed that was planted within me since I was a young kid. You know, like I can remember like being in CCD, being the one kid questioning everything, being in the church with my mother and like, you know, loving the energy, but sometimes like I just like to ask questions. So I remember even calling, for those who are young enough to remember Miss Cleo, I remember I called her up to get a free crystal, but like these little things that kept pulling my energy towards this awareness of something deeper. I remember watching The Matrix in 1999 and trying to sit there and bend a spoon with my mind. It's just like, okay, I always just had this inkling, like reading Harry Potter growing up and just seeing how these books just painted pictures in my mind, and it always stuck with me, no matter how much I got lost in The Matrix. But I would really say I went through a really deep heartbreak when I was at the University of Maine. You know, a girl I was with, she cheated on me with a teammate that was like in the same position as me. So we in the same meeting, same locker room, same everything. And like, it just, at that time I didn't realize it, but like it shattered my soul, you know. And as like I flash forward in life down the road, I realized it was more than just a heartbreak. It was a representation of that divine feminine and that connection to love just kind of like doing me wrong. And I just went through my own shadows, you know, playing football in college, just trying to really make myself feel better by trying to talk to as many girls as possible. And then when you graduate and you're done playing football, you're done on college, like your whole entire identity is just stripped away. And I just like ask myself, like, who am I? You know, like, what am I here for? Like, what am I doing? And like, yeah, I was working, mentoring with youth. Yeah, I had a job. Yeah, I was playing sports. But like, it was just me getting questions. And that's what brought me to the mat. You know, I started just connecting to finding about yoga and meditation. And I was just buying random books on Amazon or being in Barnes and Noble, and just books just being the ones I just decided to read. And it just made me start to realize that when I ask these questions inside of me, you know, if I sit on the mat, when I stretch my body, it brings me into that deeper connection of who I am. So in a nutshell, that is what got me to the mat.
Thank you for sharing that part of your story and deciding to be vulnerable with us in even sharing, you know, that part of your relationship and your thoughts and feelings outside of graduating college. And what our goal here for Meetings on the Mat is stepping into that vulnerability and showing those sides of ourselves, to debunk or get past that notion that people on spiritual journeys and that are awakening or on this journey and path of awakening are better than and without fault or problem, when in reality that's not true. There's no good or bad, and we're all spirits having this human experience. So what I would like to ask you to do, if you're open to it, is taking us through your journey of the Matrix, coming into this metaphysical world and lifestyle, so to speak. Meaning, kind of what I got from your story of college and then graduating was, okay, I'm in this matrix, I'm living it, I'm doing all these things with these girls, I'm playing sports, XYZ, this is my life, this is it, I know it. And then graduation, I'm not saying that was your turn point, but it sounds like it was one of those pivotal moments for you to just reflect and have a little more self-awareness of like, wow, okay, who am I now? Who's Rod? Because that's not reality anymore.
I would definitely say, to kind of really encapsulate it in a strong point, like when I graduated college, even when I was in college, I was pretty big into like what people label conspiracy theories, you know. And I remember like the big thing happened was like someone gave me the DVD for Truth 9/11 when I was in high school, and I didn't watch it till I was in college, and it just really started making me questioning. Then I just went down this rabbit hole and learning about what they talked about with Pearl Harbor, and then going into like World War I, and then it just kept going deeper and deeper. And then like you started reading COINTELPRO about the CIA and how they were working against the indigenous tribes and the Black Panthers, and I was just like, man, why are they doing? Then you thought, oh, they poison in the water, they poison in the food, and then I just kept getting closer and closer. Like, okay, it's not about debt, it's not about money. This is really a battle on your soul. You know, and like when I started to realize this was soul wars, and it just took me on a deeper journey where I just secluded myself for probably like the year after I graduated, 2011 to 2014. Like I didn't go to the club, I wasn't hanging out with people, I wasn't like going to party. Like I was at home Friday night. I had me a book, I had me a documentary, I had me different aspects that helped my mind begin to really understand what is all this. And in that process, as I was going deeper into just exploring, it was just, I didn't see it, but it was attracting things in my life. I had notebooks where I was writing down the same affirmation every day, forward and backwards, to just embed it. And I'm reading these notebooks 5-6 years later. I'm like, wow, all this was like me putting the blueprint to who I wanted to become. But I didn't really have that deeper awareness back then. And that is what started to bring me towards more of the spiritual side, and started going into the Buddhist philosophy. And reading those books really gave my mind a framework of just how to think clearly, you know, like this concept, like make doubt itself. And like whenever you kind of get into these ruts, it's like how to think properly. And that began to bring me into Vipassana meditation. And I went onto a retreat for a few years, and like, man, I thought like, 10 days, I was outside in a tent with middle of nature and having that experience. But like, it brought out so much pain and trauma that I didn't even know I had inside of me. You know, like when you start like being by yourself for 10 days straight, I saw like, man, yeah, there's stuff about my childhood, stuff with my parents, stuff with my siblings that I don't even realize, but it's become so callous that I've been able just to operate thinking this and harmonious, but there's a level of my heart that I can't even open because there are things that I haven't dealt with, and little but surely just started to unravel by more and more connections. So I'll just kind of pause there because I forgot what the question was completely, but just go on.
Honestly, you're answering it. I'm just asking you to share your journey and what it's been coming out of, you know, the construct of the Matrix into where you are now.
Oh man, well the Matrix, that's the real battle, you know, because back in 2010, 11, like even there was very few people, unless you knew the proper communities to be in. Like those folks were already off the grid. Like you're seeing how folks are coming off the grid right now, but they're integrating social media. There was like folks who are been doing this since the 70s and 60s that just kind of like pop out like the wizards in Harry Potter do. It's like, oh, okay, there's more of us out there, but like you got to have the eyes to see. There's a great movie called They Live. You ever seen it before? They got these glasses that sees who's really one of the people in the Matrix or someone that actually is awakened to their true potential. And as I started to connect with more people and really begin to find that, the challenge was, man, oh, my mother thinks I'm crazy. Oh, my brother thinks I'm crazy. Yes. Oh, everywhere you go, like they judging you. They're saying, why aren't you doing this? And it's like, oh, okay, this is the test. You know, like how strong is my faith? And like that kind of kept me secluded, which I've always been kind of like a hermit type energy since my childhood, but it just really forced me to kind of go in this cocoon, you know, and like break down into the soup. And it's like when you understand the butterfly metamorphosis, the seeds of who is supposed to be already inside of it. So like that 3-year period is just like gestating me, taking the seeds of knowledge that's in my heart and my soul, and just being confident and just being firm on like, man, this is who I am, you know, and if you don't like it, that's okay. I can still love you anyway. And having those understanding of like making these principles of how I could still be me and interact in a world that's so different than me. And that was kind of like the real growth of me moving from the Matrix to the metaphysics, because I realized you can't just be in the metaphysics 24/7. Because when you come back into the Matrix, like, whoa, what world is this? And you can't just be in the Matrix 24/7. So it's like being able to dance between both worlds.
So let me ask you something. How do you dance between both worlds?
Oh man, I just joke around.
Joke around.
It's a big play, like, and it's a big play in the front. You know, like, oh yeah, you vaccinated? I'm vaccinated. I'm not vaccinated. Whatever you want me to believe, I'm gonna play that game with you more so. But it's just being like that child, you know, like when I work in a lot of school systems. Our job is to synthesize these deeper tools that bring us back to ourselves, but make it in a way that's palatable for someone that's in the corporate world, someone that's not looking to transcend tomorrow, someone that's needing just learning how to calm down their emotional state. So it's just having that awareness of knowing like who you're talking to. And it's like that Asian guy in the Matrix, the key maker. He has a key to unlock any door. And the more that you awaken, you can just be like, oh, I want to trick everybody. That's one approach. That's cool. But if you really want to create balance, you have to be able to build a bridge with any individual you interact with. And that is something that really helps me from just knowing who I'm connected with and knowing, yeah, maybe I'm not going to be around you all the time. But I know that if I want to work within the city, I have to interact within the city politics. I have to interact within the board of education because that's a part of me to accomplish my goal. But it's just knowing then, do I have that space suit to go into the matrix, to keep my own balance as I interact in a world that may not be as integrated as the divine nature of myself, if that makes sense.
And what is that quote unquote spacesuit? Like how so, and this is, I guess, for individuals watching that feel like they are navigating in, let's say, the metaphysics, but that's not, like you said, it's not tangible to just stay in that. So how do you suggest playing between both worlds? Because just saying we can play, everyone's probably watching like, well, how? Like,
that's a great question. And like going back to something that's very simple and practical, like I tell folks, man, study the framework of mindfulness, you know, and really understanding the foundation of just developing and cultivating self-awareness, right? Because like your space, when you watch these movies, oh, not enough oxygen, oh, there's a hole on the side that's damaged. Like it gives you these indicators that let you know that something's out of balance. And the same thing, oh, my heart's starting to palpitate a little bit. Oh, I'm getting a little tense when I'm interacting with certain people. That means my spacesuit, my container is not strong enough yet. And that's not good or bad, but it's like, okay, am I aware of my breath, right? Am I noticing the space around me? Or am I pulled in my head, jumping between every single thought pattern of how I want things to be, how I don't want things to be? And when you develop that foundation of mindfulness, right, cultivating awareness of what is happening right now, developing levels of acceptance, doing my best not to judge the experience, but to just be present with it, and then just surrendering. You know, I may have that desire what I want it to be, but the goal is, can I desire without the desire and still have that ability to embrace what I want, but be okay if it just tweaks slightly different or it's completely upside down. And that framework of just mindfulness awareness, right, non-judgmental attention will help you just know when you are not in balance. And then you can go on to the next step of the process.
I love that. Actually, I love that you like tapped into mindfulness because so Ra here, he's a meditation instructor as well as a yoga instructor and involved in so many community things, nonprofits, all those things we're going to get into later. But I specifically want to dive into mindfulness, right? And you're saying you can use mindfulness as an everyday, implement or practice to navigate and keep your container or your suit strong or strengthen it. What exactly, can you explain what mindfulness is, and is mindfulness equivalent to meditation?
Yeah, it's like a cousin, it's an auntie, it's like a brother, a sister, but mindfulness is, I would say, the westernized program of a sect of meditation that if you only stick with mindfulness, you'll never access the metaphysical world. But it is a necessary program that everyone needs to have it downloaded in their consciousness. But if that's the only program you're operating from, I would say it's a very strong matrix meditation, like Headspace or like even like the Yoga Calms, like they help self-regulate you. They help you just gain the foundation of learning how to connect to yourself with this, which is very important. So I would just label it of being aware of what's happening right now, right? Being aware in the present moment without any judgment towards the experience, that's physical, mental, or emotional, without attaching to any of those thoughts. It's like, okay, clouds in the sky, am I following that same cloud all the way to the other side of the world? Or the cloud comes, it goes. I'm not attaching to those thoughts. But that takes training. It takes practice. It takes skill and effort. And then once you develop and cultivate that non-attachment, that's where you have to go into this acceptance. And to accept, you got to have that compassion. Like, yeah, okay, man, I did that. That was wrong. I shouldn't have done that. Am I going to keep beating myself up about it? Or am I going to have that compassion and understanding for myself? And then that's the surrender. That's where I just allow myself to dissolve into the feeling, into the thought, into the sensation. And when I allow that to take place, then it puts me in a position where I can respond opposed to react in the moment. And when you're able to respond, that's where you have the infinite possibilities to create the reality of however your heart deems is going to continue to support your balance if you're conscious enough to be aware of that. I think that answers your question a little bit.
That definitely answers the question. Okay, so I guess what I'm wondering in hearing you and listening to that is how to practice mindfulness or meditation. And you said that that's, I guess an extended or a deeper layer of like a matrix type of situation. So how do you go beyond for those looking to dig deeper within, go find parts of themselves or the universe?
No, that's a great question. I'm going to break it down from a Taoist framework. Like biggest philosophy I study, like the Taoist and the Kemetic philosophy. And the approach from the Taoist philosophy is really a three-step framework that is, number one, is protecting your energy. That's the self-awareness, recognizing where am I leaking energy at. Because in order to access higher states of consciousness, you need to have that life force. You need to have that vitality so that you can use that energy to move you in planes beyond thought. Like that's the fuel to higher states of consciousness. So once I'm observing, where am I leaking energy out, whether that be from the diet that I'm eating that's making me lethargic, whether it be thought patterns that I have that are judgmental or negative or very hateful, that's going to continue to put me in that stressful state, or it's heavy emotions. We all been through a form of trauma, but a lot of us haven't been given tools and skills to really navigate that. So once I have that awareness, then we move to balancing the energy, right? And I would just like saying, focusing on breath work, as that is the simplest tool that you can use therapeutically to, number one, just regulate the nervous system, bring you back into that deeper state of relaxation. And once you recognize when I'm in that relaxed state, the parasympathetic state, that's when it begins to open up the neocortex, right? And in the neocortex, that's when you're able to expand into different states of your awareness, have a deeper level of attention. But also when I'm relaxed, I can collapse my awareness into more of the deeper reptilian part of my brain, which is more like the primitive, deeper unconscious state of who I am. And that's where you get into the metaphysical side. You could then transform your energy. My nervous system is always regulated. I'm not being triggered. I'm able to handle difficult situations. My life force is being preserved. If I'm a man, I'm not spilling my life force in my seminal fluid. I'm able to retain it. I'm cultivating it. And over time, right, it generates this presence where you can learn the techniques. Like a lot of folks know about the microcosmic orbit, or people know how to activate their lower Dan Chan. But these are techniques that you can fully access the potential is when you have a lot of life force then to access, depending on what philosophy you follow, what student of a school you are. They all have their different ways of accessing these higher planes of existence. But that is how you go from the matrix side of it, just taking care of my own inner peace, and then transforming and evolving it to this multidimensional, infinite aspect of who we are as human beings. Depending on what you believe, I could just be a crazy bald man speaking to you all. So that's just my
That is so beautiful, though. Thank you for sharing that with us. And you mentioned breath work. So I can we get into that? I'm actually diving into studies of it. So first and foremost, let's define what breath work is in your, understanding or understanding.
And I'll give you a matrix definition and a metaphysical definition. The matrix definition is breathwork is a therapeutic tool that supports the self-regulation of our mental, physical, and emotional well-being. It allows us just to feel good and access the level of peace. In the metaphysical, I will go into more like, it's this pranayama. It is the conscious control of the breath apparatus to build up prana, to control prana, minimize prana, but prana is the fuel, as I mentioned, that allows us to access the higher states of who we are, and that manifests in us in unique ways. So I hope that answers.
Can anyone practice breath work?
Yeah, I hope so. Sure. They say COVID-19 is a respiratory disease, and one thing that folks don't do is don't breathe properly. And it's like, maybe is this spirit reminding us to take a deeper breath? When they started seeing a lot of studies of folks increasing the amount of oxygen intake, the nitrous oxide, that it was allowing them to recover a little bit quicker. And folks that weren't doing it got damaged lungs. So it's like, oh, okay, maybe the universe is working in a very weird way right now, trying to communicate to us though. But everyone I think should, as a fountain, like the same way you brush your teeth and take a shower, it's gonna be the same way breath work should be incorporated. You'll see in the future. And it's like, oh man, your energy stink. You ain't breathed today. You know what I'm saying? It's just like getting that awareness of seeing, like, I believe that's part of my goal of our nonprofit is to make breathing as integrated as we brush our teeth in the morning. That's the focus. So.
I love that. Okay, so I was actually going to ask how you do that, and it sounds like your nonprofit's geared toward that. So I'd love to get into the work you do with that nonprofit, and maybe you can answer this question in the midst of that of, you said something where you said people aren't breathing properly. How do you breathe properly? Like, what techniques are you using or doing to breathe properly?
It's like if you ever see a brand new baby born, you go on YouTube if you haven't seen the baby in person, and they do breathe a little rapidly, but they breathe diaphragmically, you know, when they're expanding the stomach like a balloon and it comes down and contracts naturally, right? Because what happens is our lungs come all the way down to where our rib cage is, and our respiratory system is linked to our central nervous system. Our respiratory system also eliminates 70% of all the toxins in our body because it does a great job of purifying the blood in our system. So if I'm not breathing properly, I'm actually holding on to toxins. I'm circulating dirty blood. I'm not cleaning out my system. I'm not allowing the blood to flow throughout the whole entire body. And it puts you in a state where you're going to notice, like I tell people all the time, every emotion we experience has a specific breathing pattern, right? And if you are not aware of it, and you are constantly in control of it, you have that ability in any moment to change how you want to feel. And that's why it's so important. If I'm breathing from my chest, if I'm breathing from my mouth, I know that you're irritated. I know that you're stressed. I know that you're not sleeping properly. I know that your mind is racing. I don't have to talk to you. Like, and when I go into a room, I tell folks, the first thing I do when I meet anybody, I watch how they're breathing. You know, I'm like, how you doing? You can tell me how you're feeling, right? I could just see, oh, it's in the chest. Okay, what's happening? But when you breathe next to somebody, and I learned this from a very bright young brother, the Devon the Black Airbender. Just by you breathing next to somebody, you controlling your rhythm, you could begin to control the whole entire room if you have enough life force or prana in your system to support the synchronization of everyone in the room breathing right now. And that's another level of understanding the power behind our breath. So hope that makes sense.
That does make, wow, okay. So you definitely answered the question. You did not, well, not get into, but I would like to venture into your nonprofit and what work you do, and how you're incorporating breath work and or it sounds like meditation and yoga as well.
Oh man, it's how to be human, and hopefully giving individuals a blueprint so when they do wake up to realize that they already have the foundation to access the totality of who they are, you know, and that could be any long, but our mission is to transform youth, schools, and communities through holistic practices. And we really focus on bringing balance to the body, mind, and emotions. And we do that from an infinite merry way. But our real focus right now is we work with school systems, right? We had a full-time school-based contract with the whole Asbury Park School District from kindergarten all the way up to high school, where we had these rooms. Shout out to Holistic Life Foundation. Always like to give credit where credit's due. We took a training with them about 5 years ago, and they broke down this mindful moment room that they did in Baltimore with their students, where instead of ISS, instead of suspension, they would refer kids inside there. So we kind of made our own version of it, and we had one in the middle school, the high school, all the elementary schools, where in the high school they could self-refer. So if they're having a rough day, they not being able to focus or concentrate, or someone was shooting on the block last night, you know what I mean? The mother didn't come home, or XYZ. There's so many different factors. It's like helping them getting a 15-20 moment just to recenter, you know. And sometimes some of these kids, we wouldn't practice till like 2 or 3 months. We just check in with them. We have them, we build a rapport, we build trust, we make them just feel safe in this room where they can feel safe within their body. And in that mindful moment room, we're seeing about like sometimes 20, 30, 50 kids a day in a school that only has about like 330 kids in the whole entire building. And then we have programs where we go into every single grade level. We call it conscious classroom, because this is for the kids who are not coming in the room. There's folks who suffer in silence. So it's like a 6-week mindfulness, SEL, movement, meditation, and breathwork curriculum that kind of brings all these different modalities together. We call it mindfulness, but it's like that's just the seed of all that's behind it. And for 6 weeks, we spent about 20, 30 minutes in each classroom going through activities of building team and connecting, but also learning how to breathe, you know, learning about, man, what is inside of my food, learning about how to utilize my mind and develop an intention that doesn't create my own instability. And then we do development for the educators. So we have a holistic system where we're teaching the educators, we're teaching the students, and we're also in the community working with the parents and working with individuals, and we're bringing this realm of consciousness where it's just showing you like, man, I know that if you can self-regulate, the seed already has its purpose. I'm just creating an environment and showing you how to build an ecosystem inside so that you can access what your purpose is. And I don't have to tell you that. And I've had kids in kindergarten in the third year where they run up to me in the park and like, yeah, I breathe every single day. And it's just helping me realize the younger the kids, they stick with them a lot longer. You know, in high school, you got to bang the sledgehammer, but they still get it. I have kids that come back to me 4 or 5 years like, Mr. Rodney, everything you said to me, I finally get it. So it make me realize some of these kids are like bamboo. Some of these kids are like lilies. Some of these kids grow overnight. Some of these kids, it takes 5 years for them to sprout, but you're always planting seeds. And the more conscious you become of that, we realize that we've had kids that look like they're sleeping the whole entire time are the ones that I come in the hallway, walking in the building, they're breathing after getting angry. I'm like, okay, he's paying attention. But I would have thought that he wasn't listening, but he's listening in his own way. And that's how we shaped and molded our curriculum and connection. And we do so much more, but essentially we're bringing light in the space that exists where almost every youth goes from. And I'm not going to clown the education, so I'm not going to put it down, but I will definitely say it's been a system in our society that has not been upgraded since its inception. And if you look at any sector, everything goes through innovation. And one thing that has been the same is our space technology and education. And when you start to realize that, then, okay, I can't be this person all the time that speaks about, but you can know who I am, but realize I'm here with the intention of just helping your heart become better. You know, helping your kid realize that there is a blueprint for resilience and rising above adversity. There is a proper mindset that we could obtain so that when you begin to evolve, I'm just laying the bridge to help you connect to your highest version of yourself. So that's a little breakdown.
What's the name of your nonprofit? You didn't mention.
Conscious Youth Development and Service, KYDS. Yeah, she got the shirt. I was gonna wear mine too to look real crazy, but your hair's blocking it.
Y'all see it?
Y'all see it? KYDS, Conscious Youth Development and Service, founded in 2014.
As you see, this is one of their shirts.
Salute.
Yeah. What I would like to know, or what I would like to get into, is possible techniques you do with the children to help bring them or bring awareness and breathing into the body, into their life, into their world. And I'm wondering, before we even do any of that, are there parents involved at all in any of these, I guess, offerings? Or I know what you said, some of it is in classroom, in school. Do you do anything outside of school for parents to help implement?
Yeah, a program called Conscious Parenting. We had a program during the pandemic called Peace in the Porch. We had a local grocery store, Dean's After Food Market, and Seed to Sprout. They said we have donations that you need to give out. And we had a bunch of kids, about like 15 families. We was going door to door, dropping off organic foods and vegetables and just meals for them. And then we're like, you know what? Not just giving them food, because that lasts for a day, but can we give them some peace? Can we give them some soul? So we started working with the parents, and then from that it evolved into Peace in the Porch, where we spent a 5-week pilot program where we went to each household for 5 families, and we spent time with the parents and the children, where we just kind of did some rapport building, just talking to them, just let them know that, man, we're not just here to just breathe, but we want you to know that we care about you. And then we did some techniques, and we also work with like Central Jersey Family Health Consortium or other organizations like the Freehold Regional School District, where we do conscious parenting workshop series for the entire district, whether it be high school, elementary. And we allow, because we know that to really affect the child, you got to affect the whole ecosystem that the child's in, and that's the education, that's the school, the community, and that's the family, you know. And that's where you get, like the research shows, where the deepest impact will be made when your child's going home, he's seeing the same culture, he's in school, he's seeing the same culture, and he's in his community, he's seeing the same culture, and really having that framework of doing the best we can. We're a small organization. We only have about a staff of like 10, 15 people, but we're going to be hiring soon. So, and realizing like we've probably been over 55 schools over the past 4 years.
Wow.
We've affected over 9,000 students, over 4,000 educators in training and development, and we're expanding more and more. And just, this is just my spirit in physical form, because I realized, as much as I love my previous job, can I live my purpose? Can my dream become a reality? And that's been the kind of the part of me that showed me the truth of what I do. So, yes, all that in a nutshell.
Thank you for that. And will you be able to take us through that breathwork technique that you do with the children? Is there anything that you need to do? Well, so what do you do as far as techniques with those children?
Well, the kids will keep it simple and practical, man. Like, and I tell folks, like, especially these kids, they'll go on YouTube. They have access to everything. Like, Rodney, help me open my third eye. They're like, oh man, help me astral project. And I'm just like, brother, just learn how to breathe first. So that if you ever do make it into those realms, the first shadow you see, you don't just go ahead and poop your pants. You're able to have some kind of grounding per se. So I focus on fundamentals, because what I learned on my journey, I taught some folks that I were close to some techniques and tools where their heart wasn't in balance yet. Right? And when you cultivate energy and you gain those skill sets and you gain that knowledge before you're mature enough, it doesn't really show the fruits that reflected who I was. So my focus is really learning just one, we help them observe the breath, right? First thing is, before we even breathe, we have to do somatic exercises. Because when you have kids who are dealing with trauma, you have kids who are stressed out, who are going through a lot, it's hard for them to feel safe to sit down and just breathe. I've had so many kids, I can't breathe because it brings up so much. It's not always going to be kumbaya when you're doing the meditation. So we've seen that enough and we've been able to support that, but we know that, okay, if I can help them move their body, we do like extra little body shake. You know what I mean? And shake, I call it shaking the leaf.
Okay.
And then
am I doing it?
I'm just giving and honestly, there's no right or wrong way to do it, because as you shake the body, you're moving the you're moving the lymphatic system, you're getting the toxins to start to circulate, your opening spot where the tension was at, where blood is circulating from, and that begins to turn the system on. Because our vessel is one of the advanced technologies that we ever will touch, but we don't know how to work it. So once I get that energy and that blood moving, then I'm like, okay, be still. Now, instead of all those thoughts, your mind can easily pull itself inward, right? You can feel your head, your shoulders, your arms, your legs. Okay, thoughts pull you away, but if you have someone that's guiding you, you can bring it back. And that's the dance. That's the real work of the muscle of mindfulness, where I'm able to consciously pull myself into my body. It's like I said, 1,000 thoughts into one. I can feel my nose. I can feel my chin. I can feel my shoulder. And that begins to prune away all those negative thought patterns. Oh, I'm not good enough. Man, my dad doesn't love me. Oh, why did I do that? Because you're not giving him attention. There's no electricity or energy being spaced there. And then we start to breathe, right? Okay, let's deepen the shock and regulate your nervous system. And we started simple. So we could do a simple technique, a little body shake, and just a little breath observation and breath regard. And as the kids show me, kids who come to our mindful moment room, okay, you're ready to learn more. Because one thing I learned, everyone's not ready to wield the power that comes from doing the different techniques if your heart is not in a good space. And I think more people are becoming aware of that in this time. So we get it started. All right, so this is an activity that anyone can do. It's not just for children. It's for teachers, parents, anyone, young or old. It just allows us to kind of release any tension that is stuck within our body physically. So we're going to begin by focusing on our right arm, and we got to count down together. It's a crowd participation. Even you at home, we're going to shake our arm for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. There we go. Left arm. Focus and feel it for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Right leg. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Left leg. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Right arm. 4, 3, 2, 1. Left arm. 4, 3, 2, 1. Right leg. 4, 3, 2, 1. Left leg. 4, 3, 2, 1. Right arm. 3, 2, 1. Left arm. 3, 2, 1. Right leg. 3, 2, 1. Left leg. 3, 2, 1. Right arm. 2, 1. 2, 1. 2, 1. 2, 1. Take a look at 1, 1, 1, 1. And shake it the whole body now. Up and down, moving on. And the goal is, can I get lost in the physical sensation, right? Not my mind. And for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Freeze. Root the feet like you grounded into the earth. Soften the knees. And if you feel comfortable, you can close your eyes. If not, you can allow your gaze to just be heavy. And just draw your focus inward. Feel the soles of your feet and the vitality rising up your legs, your calf, your shin, your thighs, your back, your spine, your stomach, your chest. And notice the breath, the heart beating. Notice your arms, notice your head, your neck, soften your jaw. And put a smile on your face. Direct that smile right into your heart. And send love. Allow that love to radiate. And let's bring a little bit more peace. Simple breathing here. We call this our sun breathing. We're going to keep our hands by our side. We're just going to inhale, bring those arms out and up. Mind and body are connected as one. That's most important here. Hold it at the top, feel the fingertips to your shoulders. Exhale, slow motion out the nose. Feel the energy from your fingertips to your shoulders. Rising, lowering down, that's the paradox, to your toes. There we go. We're gonna inhale again. Bring the energy from the heels of your toes to the crown of your head. Bring that breath. Hold it at the top. Notice what is pulling your mind away and come back inward to feel something. Exhale, slow motion out the nose. Feel that energy lower down, the shoulders, the fingertips, the hips, the thighs, the toes. One more here for good measure. Breathe it in nice and deep. Arms come out and up. Again, mind and body are one. The breath is the bridge. Hold here. Feel here. Exhale, slow motion, even slower than before, more awareness of the sensation. Fingertips, shoulders, hips, thighs. Place both hands on your heart. Put a big smile on your face. Direct that smile right down to your heart. And send love, gratitude. Feel that energy amplify and radiate into every cell that exists within your body, to every organ, to every muscle, every bone, every inch of your skin radiating with this love, this light, this awareness. Let's take one final deep breath in. Big sigh out. And silently to your heart whisper these words: I am love, I am peace, I am happy, I am free. I am love, I am peace, I am happy, I am free. Allow the hands to melt down, maybe move the ankles and toes around, the knees, the wrists, the head and the neck. And slowly bring yourself back into this moment. But even as you open your eyes, try not to label anything, right? Try to be in the essence of the space. Try to bring that feeling from the inside into the space outside. And that's a simple way that we could tune back in. We can get grounded, more importantly, stabilize and regulate our nervous system so that we could be in a better position just to show up in life. And once we can master that, come see me down the road and I can tell you what we truly are about. But that is all for me, folks.
All right, let's bring it back down to the mat. I would love to know where we can find you, your social media and or any offerings you have coming up, any classes.
I've been like hermit mode. My social media is brother Ra _ like brother. I gotta take my Instagram.
With an A.
Yeah, BROTHA _ Ra 44. That's on Instagram. And currently, I took a big step back from teaching, but I'm focusing on more. I want to build and create ecosystems. So I'm really working on a project called Conscious Cryptocurrency and really educating people who are open-minded enough to realize that there is a potential shift that will allow for us to really live our purpose if we could begin to tap into this system, but from a space of consciousness. So that's like the only workshop or teaching that I'm doing in my nonprofit on conscious.org. Right, it's a website in KYDS _NJ. We do a lot of online, a Kemetic philosophy meditation every other Monday. So depending when you're watching this, if you just go on our website, you'd be welcome to join if you want to spend some time and learn how to tap in. So, yeah.
I love that. And conscious, is it with a C or a K?
Also with a K, yeah. So it's done on purpose with intention. So.
All right. Thank you so much for joining us here at Meetings on the Mat. It was a pleasure.
Oh, yeah, man. Thank you. Honor, definitely support the queen. It's important that we build spaces that allow voices to be heard and to create more ecosystems that build love, that build harmony. So I definitely support. And I've known Nikki since she was a little baby. So seeing her all grown up, it's beautiful to see that she is definitely creating her own uniqueness and expressing that to the world. So thank you, everybody.
Yeah. All right. Thanks, guys.
Here we go.
Thank you all for not only deciding to join myself, as well as each individual here on the mat, on this journey, but deciding to journey within yourself and show up for yourself every step of the way, every episode, every time you listen to any and every one of these episodes. So tune in. next week for more. Thank you.